Hi, this is another Ask Augustin. Today I'm going to talk about facing your fears. Different things that are scary about performing and playing the violin, and how to overcome those fears and play confidently, even when you're slightly worried because something is very difficult. So I've often seen and experienced myself that when I perform something that's very, very difficult, a very difficult passage is coming up, that there's this instinct of somehow pulling back and being careful, but that communicates to the listener. If you don't look like you're certain that you'll nail the passage, then even if you play it well, the listener doesn't quite believe it. They somehow sense the uncertainty or fear in what you're doing. It's very important to be very, very confident when a very virtuosic passage is coming up. And then if it doesn't work, then you'll get it next time, but you need to have the courage to just go for it. And I have a few examples for that. If you're jumping towards a high note, to not back away from it as though you're not certain that you're going to hit it. You need to play that high note with the confidence as though you're 100% certain that you're going to hit it. And if you don't hit it, then hopefully you'll get it next time. So, there have been times when the note didn't work out, and then I feel bad for a while, but then I'm like, well, hopefully next time. But nobody wants to see some kind of fear or uncertainty in the moment that is actually the most assertive, confident moment in in the whole violin repertoire, where you're just like, yeah, that sort of attitude. So you have to really stand up to your fear. So what are some other examples of fears that we need to face as violinists? I think it's important not to be afraid of the frog. Sometimes I see violinists who are reluctant to really go all the way and have a tendency, it's like always somehow more comfortable, more easier, less risky maybe to not go all the way to the frog. I think it's important to really work on being completely comfortable up here, to have control and feel comfortable with that balance, because right at the frog is where the sound is strongest, fullest, and it's actually the best sound we can get out of our bow. And it also means that we have more bow at our disposal, because it's quite a bit of bow that you're giving up by doing that. So I think it's very important to face that fear. Of course, there's always the fear of going on stage. Stage fright. I think almost every musician experiences it to some extent, because you'd be crazy not to if you're going on stage in front of people. Actually, no matter how many people it is, but especially if it's a lot of people, you'd be crazy not to be a little bit nervous and scared. I think there are several tips I have for that. I used to be quite nervous actually, and it's gotten easier as I've performed more. I think it's important what terms we use to talk about it. Sometimes when you talk a lot about being nervous, it makes you more nervous. You can kind of freak yourself out even more. I think it's important to think of it kind of positively as excitement, because you do genuinely actually have more energy and faster reflexes when you're on stage in a kind of a high tension, fight or flight kind of situation, what we experience when we're on stage. If you're somebody who has the feeling that sometimes the bow starts shaking, that used to happen to me sometimes, and what has helped me a lot is focusing on my breathing when I practice, so that while I am on stage, I know when to breathe in and when to breathe out, and before I know it, I'm breathing the same way I was breathing in rehearsal, and that can help me calm my body down. Because the one thing, of course, you cannot slow down your heart rate on stage, because that's involuntary, but you can slow down your breathing and make sure your breathing is regular, and that you keep breathing, that you don't stop breathing. Because the moment you stop breathing on stage is the moment when you really, when things might take a turn for the worse, and you might get even more nervous. I hope that's helpful, and I'll see you next time.